Torah Study.
Ring the bell.
Is that Paul? Okay. Good morning. Good morning. All right, let's sing. Right? It's our Vishamru. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasod et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasod et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. V'ni uvein v'nei Yisrael oti leolam, oti leolam. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasod et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim v'et haaretz v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et hashabat lasod et hashabat ledorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asod et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. God bless the Sabbath day and declare it orally. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. L'chaim. Our blessing over Torah study. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'sok b'divrei Torah. All right, so if you don't have one of our handouts, there are a few on the corner where the prayer books are. We are in Parshat Bamidbar, beginning the book of Numbers, right? Called Numbers because there are a lot of census, right? And that's what our Torah portion starts out with, the time of taking a census. So, before we get into the many texts that I brought for you, I would love if someone would be willing to share a time where you felt, we're going to have two things. If you felt like 1 in a million, or in a time where you felt one of millions. Does that make sense? Time where you felt 1 in a million, right? I'm really special, really great, right? I'm 1 in a million. Or a time where you felt one of millions, right? Feeling really small, insignificant. Anybody? All right, let's all think. All right, anybody willing to share? Thank you, Shelley.
So maybe both at the same time. We went to the march in D.C. for Israel. So at the same time feeling so incredibly supportive and everything else, and yet there were probably about 200,000 people. So 300,000 people, so feeling a little bit insignificant in the whole of it, but yet feeling so special just by being there.
Yeah, so sometimes like being in a big crowd, right? Part of something bigger than ourselves, we can feel both important and indistinguishable. Anybody else want to share? We are so shy. It's such a shy group. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So, the opening book of Numbers doesn't make for the most exciting reading. So God commands Moses to take a census of all of the adult males over the age of 20, which Moses does. I'm not going to make us read all of it. We are then presented with the results, right? And it feels very, very repetitious. It takes 46 verses for the Torah to give us our total of 603,550 military-aged Israelite men. All right. So we're going to talk about today the why, the slow creeping pace. Why do we have to do this tribe after tribe? We're going to see it again in next week's Torah portion, a very similar kind of repetitious thing. So the goal is to show you that while this does seem very repetitious and boring at first glance, through the eyes of our rabbis and biblical interpreters, we get one of the core truths about Jewish theology and ethics, which is that, yes, exactly, Joe, everybody counts. Everybody matters. One of my bar mitzvah boy after this, Jacob Epstein, I'm going to give away his Devar Torah because I'm looking around. Only none of you are going to be there. I think Jeff Rosenberg was going to be there. So the point he makes is that God just doesn't count us, but God counts on us, which is so beautiful. So beautiful. Very proud of him. So we're going to go ahead and dive into some of our texts. So we're going to start here with my handout. Sorry. I'm not going to make you read 46 verses of repetition. All right. Pirkei Avot, the ethics of our fathers from the first Mishnah.
He used to say, "Beloved is man, for he was created in the image of God. Especially beloved is he, for it was made known to him that he had been created in the image of God. As it is said, for in the image of God he made man. Beloved are Israel in that they were called children to the all-present. Especially beloved are they, for it was made known to them that they are called children of the all-present. As it is said, you are children to the Lord your God. Deuteronomy 14:1. Beloved are Israel in that a precious vessel was given to them. Especially beloved are they, for it was made known to them that the desirable instrument with which the world had been created was given to them. As it is said, for I give you good instruction, forsake not my teaching."
Thank you. Okay, so here we have this section from Pirkei Avot, right? Beloved is man, right? Humankind. Why? We're created in the image of God, right? This is why I love to say this to kids, but I'll say it to adults too. You want to see the image of God? We don't look at pictures, right? We don't have beautiful stained glass images, right? You want to see the image of God, you look at another person. We are walking images of our Creator. Pretty amazing, right? But especially beloved are we. Why? Because God let us know. God didn't have to tell us that we were created in the image of God, but God did. It makes it a little extra special. All right. So usually when a rabbi quotes this part of Pirkei Avot, that's where we stop. So maybe some of the rest of it is new to you, right? Beloved are the children of Israel, right? Because we're called children of God, but especially beloved because God calls us that. So you think about a parent, right? My dad, you guys know, my grandfather is a Holocaust survivor. I don't think it's his Holocaust survivorship. I think it's being from Poland and the way Polish parents were. That he did not tell my dad he loved him growing up. When my grandfather wrote his book about the Holocaust, in it, he talks about how precious my father was to him. You know, how scared he was of losing another kid. I had to point it out to my dad. He was like so scarred from not hearing it growing up, right? So our parents can love us, our Creator can love us, but we could walk around not knowing it. How incredibly special that we get to walk around knowing we are loved. Right? When we say the Shema, and then we go to the V'ahavta and it says, you should love Adonai your God. The prayer before talks about God's infinite love for us. I call it the love sandwich. But when we wake up in the morning, we are, like the whole idea is that, you know, God gives our soul back to us. So God decided today, the earth needs you, right? It's love, it's love, it's love. So not only are we beloved because God created us, and God didn't need us, right? God decided God needed us, right? But God could have created somebody else, but God created you for a purpose, for a reason. You're here right now today for a reason. But even more beloved are we because God told us. We walk around knowing that. Feeling really special right now, right? So, and then, beloved are we because the Torah was given to us. Right? I spoke about this last night. There's beautiful midrash about how the Torah is given in the wilderness, a place owned by no one, open to everyone, because anyone can receive Torah, right? But what a gift. This is grace. This is the act of receiving something. And even more beloved, because we know that the Torah, look, it says the world was created through our Torah. All right, so very special. So we should be feeling very special. This tells us God loves us, not because of anything we do, but simply because of who we are. That's the unconditional love. Human beings are created in God's image, but Judaism goes further. Jewish sources insist God cherishes each human being not as a mass, not as like faceless representatives of a privileged species or something, but God loves us each as individuals. So I have this big text from Sanhedrin. You can see I highlighted part of it. That's the part that we need. But the whole section is so good. So I'd love to read all of number 2. Bobby, are you feeling? Here you go.
The proof for this is as we found with Cain, who killed his brother. As it is stated concerning him, the voice of your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. The verse does not state your brother's blood
Dom.
in what?
Dom. The Hebrew
Dom.
word is Dom.
Dom.
You guys might remember,
I
it from
remember
the
it
Seder.
from the play. I love play. You're right.
Isaiah.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Your brother's blood, Dom, in the ground. The verse does not state your brother's blood, Dom, in the singular, but rather your brother's blood, dam, in the plural. This serves to teach that the loss of both his brother's blood and the blood of his brother's offspring are ascribed to Cain. The
Okay.
Mishnah,
So hold on, just pause really quick. Okay, so the point being made, right? The first murder in the Torah, right, is when Cain kills Abel. Cain kills his brother Abel, Adam and Eve's boys, right? And God says, your brother's blood, dame, plural, cries out from me from the ground, right? So why plural, right? Blood is not, we don't say bloods, right? Well, unless you're talking about a gang, right? So, right? That you don't say bloods. Why does it say bloods? Because it's not just Abel that he killed, but he killed all of the generations of children and offspring that would come from Abel. Okay, keep going, Bobby.
the Mishnah notes, alternatively, the phrase your brother's blood, dam, written in the plural, teaches that his blood was not gathered in one place, but was splattered on the trees and on the stones. The court tells the witness, therefore, Adam, the first man, was created alone to teach you that with regard to anyone who destroys one soul from the Jewish people, i.e., kills one Jew, the verse ascribes him blame as if he destroyed the entire world, an entire world. As Adam was one person from whom the population of an entire world came forth. And conversely, anyone who sustains one soul from the Jewish people, the verse ascribes him credit as if he sustained an entire world.
Okay, I'm going to make you pause again. Okay, so just a little background. This is from the book of Sanhedrin in the Talmud. So the book of Sanhedrin, like you guys have maybe heard of the Sanhedrin,
Yes.
right? So this is the rabbinic court. So this is what it takes to be a judge. And they're talking about the difference, just to give you a little background on this section, the difference between being a judge in like civil cases, where, there's a dispute about whose hammer this is or whose donkey, okay? Or when did you borrow something? And if the donkey, this is what I'm in right now, like if the donkey died before you officially took it from the person you were borrowing it from, or after you paid, but you still hadn't taken it yet, who's liable, all of that. That is one category of law. This is for capital cases. Okay, they're saying it's very different when you're dealing with cases where it could be a capital offense and the penalty could be somebody losing their life. Remember that there wasn't really prison, right? There was jail, like where you would hold somebody temporarily before they had their court procedure, but that would maybe be for a week, right? It's not like today's world. But there was no prison. There was no like long-term place where people would be held. So if you have a capital offense, it is a very big deal. So here you can see that the Talmud is trying to like really dig in there. Like your job as a judge, right, is to protect the law and protect other people, but every single life is a world. So if you find somebody guilty, you're destroying a world, right? So you have to take it very, very seriously. Also, right, if you find somebody innocent who is going to go out and commit a capital offense, they're destroying a world, and that's on you now, right? So it's a hard position to take. Okay, so we get the Adam with the bloods, right, and the future generations, or that it was like a very graphic messy murder that Cain did of Abel. And as Bobby just read for us, it's so important for us to learn that we were all created from one person to teach us that we all have one common ancestor, and now we're going to get the next part of it, which rubs it in even more.
The Mishnah cites another reason Adam, first man, was created alone. And this was done due to the importance of maintaining peace among people, so that one person will not say to another, my father, i.e. the progenitor, is greater than your father, And it was also so that here, heretics who believe in multiple gods will not say there are many authorities in heaven and each created a different person.
Okay, so let's pause. All right, so another reason we want to know that we're all created from Adam, we can't say, like, right? My dad's more important than your dad. I went to, I transferred high schools when I was in high school, and I went from a very large public school to a very small Christian private school. It was the most expensive private school in Fort Wayne, Indiana. It cost $4,000 a year. So, I know. So, very bougie. Okay, it was a long time ago. We were once playing a game, a sports game, and you might imagine that this small Christian private school, we had the best soccer team, but that was the only sport that we dominated in. And I was sitting on the sidelines, and all of a sudden I hear chanting. Like, what are they saying? That's all right. That's okay. You'll all work for us one day. I was so ashamed. What entitled snobs, right? We can't be entitled snobs. It doesn't matter what your dad's job was. It doesn't matter what you come from. We all come from the same person. We are all siblings, right? Don't you love how the DNA proves this too, right? You said no. I have, I won't mention them, but 2 of our congregants did the 23andMe and found out that they're fourth cousins. And so they thought it would be hilarious to walk around the house calling each other cuz. Like, hey, cuz, hey, cuz. Their children were not okay with that. All right, we're all like genetically related. We're not that far from each other, no matter what our circumstance in life. Okay? We come from one common ancestor, and we shouldn't say, my blood is redder than yours, or I am more special than you because of anything, right? Because we all come from the same person. And also this idea that they're saying that certain gods molded certain people. Okay, now we're going to get into the next part of the text, which is the actual highlighted part. Okay. Bobby, you're going to still read for us?
Sure, absolutely.
Don't forget the mic.
And this serves to tell of the greatness of the Holy One, blessed be he. As when a person stamps several coins with one seal, they are all similar to each other. But the supreme King of Kings, the Holy One, blessed be he, stamped all people with the seal of Adam, the first man. Turn the page. As all of them are his offspring, and not one of them is similar to another. Therefore, since all humanity descends from one person, each and every person is obligated to say, the world was created for me, as one person can be the source of all humanity and recognize the significance of his actions.
All right, thank you. Okay, so some of you might recognize this line. The world was created for me. There's Bunam. Why didn't I write it down? His name, the Rabbi Bunam, is to carry 2 slips of paper in his pocket, right? I am but dust and ash, And on the other side, the world was created for me, right? So we're going to focus on that pocket now. This is the humility practice, right? Taking up, knowing I'm really special and I need to take up the right amount of space, but also knowing I'm not that special, right? I'm one in a million. I'm one of millions, right? So, the next text, 3, it's like one of my favorite quotes. The day you were born is the day God declared the world could not exist without you. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov. So here we are going into this idea of us being really, really special, okay? So some of us might find it troubling. Why is it troubling for us to be obligated to say to ourselves, the world was created for me? What's the danger in that?
With being chosen comes great responsibility. You have to live up to your mission.
All right, so that was the Spider-Man, right? With great power comes great responsibility. And then I heard over here, hubris, right? Right? All of a sudden, we start thinking, wait, the world was created for me, right? I am entitled, right? Narcissism. We see none of that today. None of that. No, I'm just kidding. So, yeah, narcissism.
I always thought the most important day of life is when I find out why I was created.
Ooh, somebody said that. I know that quote where it's like there are 2 most important days of your life, the day you're born and the day you find out why. It's in Miami.
I would offer that the idea of the world being made for me allows for this concept I learned about this week called Hefker. And maybe you want to talk about that.
You want to talk about, what did you learn?
The idea of Hefker, within the context of Bamidbar, as I came to learn, is that in order to experience completeness and wholeness and all that this world that is made for me, you have to find your way to rid your consciousness and your being of greed and trash. And if you can get there and you can marry that with the world is made for me, I think that would be a beautiful place.
Beautiful. Thank you.
There's a song that says, "No man is an island, no man stands alone. Each man is my brother, each man is my friend."
All right, so we're already, so like one of the dangers is us thinking we're an island, right? Thinking our opinion is facts, right? Being full of ourselves, which can be full of trash.
So I have a question. When you said you want to realize how everybody is special and created in God's image and everything like that, and you said just look around you at somebody. If somebody were, say, an introverted narcissist and decided instead to look in a mirror to prove that, would that be okay?
Yeah, but something has occurred to me that is an unpleasant thought, and that we all come from Adam, but a great many of us then descend from Cain. And that could explain some of the evil in the world.
There's some pretty crazy midrashim about that, but I don't want to go there. But maybe I'll teach a class on like demons and evil at some point in Judaism. Yes, so if we are the image of God, why not be narcissistic and just look in the mirror and be like, That's God, right? It's a good question. I think like understanding that like we're merely a reflection and not the creation itself can help us to adjust a little bit, right? That's always the balance, always the balance. So we're gonna go into why we're special.
No, Richard, I really agree with you. I think that that's a very difficult thing to achieve, however. And I find that for me, I think that for each of us, we need to find a place where we can experience that lack of stimulation, the lack of the outside influencing us. For me, at least, when I go out on my boat, I feel very special as a person, but the vastness of the surroundings, or when we were in Colorado and we'd go out into the mountains, that type of stimulation seemed to be a reflection of what you're talking about. It was positive. It allowed me to be alone with myself and to ignore the influences of what we see every day. But I think each of us, it's very important that we find a place like that where we can experience exactly what you're talking about.
How perfect for Bamidbar, right? This vast, wide expanse of emptiness, right? Stillness, non-stimulation, not working, not having any responsibilities, right? That is when we received Torah, right? Not because we weren't working and we can't find meaning through that, but having to have moments of stillness and feeling, right? I mean, when you were talking about that, Shelley, like I often feel the same as you, like, right? When I'm hiking, when I'm in nature, you feel so small. But sometimes feeling really small makes you feel also very special. Yeah.
Missing from the statement is one word. Because I could sit here and say the world was made for me. But it doesn't say the world was made for just me. It was made for you and you and you and you and you. So it was made for all of us. So inherent in the statement, the world was made for all of mankind, because it doesn't say just me, one. And further proof of that is Judaism is rooted in community.
Just going to say, right? Like, yes. And you think about, right, that we are not supposed to say the call to worship alone, that we're not supposed to say Kaddish alone, although I know a lot of us do, right? We are community-based faith. And so there is this, there's a difficulty with the line, right? That if we read it the way it just says, each and every person is obligated to say the world was created for me, then it can lead to narcissism, right? And definitely that is not something that our world needs more of right now. But when the Mishnah talks about human uniqueness and the implication for God's glory, it has in mind not, or at least not only that we are what we are entitled to, right? But also what we are responsible for. Think about Adam, right? Adam gets the first rules. Till the earth and protect it, right? And then we have that beautiful midrash, right? Where God shows Adam the world, like, see my world, how beautiful, how perfect. Take care of it, for if you don't, there will be no one after you who can. Right? So with creation comes responsibility. And so it's not just that all of us as a community are called on to serve, but like every single one of us as individuals have an obligation to serve.
You have to think that you're not alone when you start having children, and then when you have grandchildren, and then your community expands to great-grandchildren. I have 6 of them now and a couple on the way. And that's a community, and that tells me why I was born.
A different way of looking at it is not that God created one of us better than the other. He created us differently, and he imbued upon each of us different responsibilities to make us a whole world. And we as a people each have different responsibilities to each other as Jews and to the community. We all don't have to be the same, but no one is better than the other.
Beautiful. So, yes, so each of us being unique implies that we are irreplaceable. So, we have a unique mission, we have a unique purpose, there's a reason that we're here. And, of course, we see in this same Mishnah the implications then for what it means when somebody dies. Like a world just died. That person was irreplaceable. And we feel that too when we lose someone. So it, I think, is a very powerful text. Okay. So I want to move us into Numbers Rabbah, which makes sense. This is the Midrash on Numbers, which is the book we're in. As I said, Numbers begins slowly, and we learn about how at God's behest, Moses undertakes this census of males age 20 and over. And in the following chapter, again, we see camp by camp, tribe by tribe, in painstaking detail, like these donations that are made, even though it's repetitious. And remember, like in Torah, there's no unnecessary repetition, right? So we're going to go back to like why all of this repetition. So this Numbers comes from next week's Parsha, but it applies to this week's as well. All right, so we're on Numbers. Okay, number 4.
This is analogous to a person had one batch of merchandise of fine gems, and he would take it and count it when taking it out and count it when placing. So as it were, the Holy One, blessed be God, said, "But you are my children, as it is stated, who have been carried from birth. That is why God counts them every moment."
Okay, so we have this beautiful image, right, of someone who has fine gems or pearls or something, right? Something precious. And so they count them every time they take them back out, count them every time they put it in. Why? I want to lose one. Each and every one is precious, right? So this is, according to the Midrash, why God keeps counting us. Because we are precious. How beautiful. Counting requires taking stock of each individual gem. Each one is precious. Take it out, numbered. You can imagine, like, delighted in, enjoyed. Similarly, we're going to the next text. This is Rabbi Isaac Arama, who lived 1420 to 1494. He asks why all the seemingly dull details of the census are necessary. Did God not know the number of Israelites encamped in the desert in any case, right? God knows. God knows how many there are, so why do we need to do this? So he argues taking count one by one serves to teach that each one has individual worth, and they're not just one of a collective. So we're going to go, I mean, no, it's only one line. We're going to go to text number 5. I might make you do 2 and will you read text 5? Yeah.
5? Sure.
Yeah.
Rabbi Isaac Arama. They were all equal in stature, yet the stature of each one was different.
Okay, I love that line. So you love that line? All equal in stature, and yet the stature of each one was different. I love this. I think we often struggle with the idea of equality and fairness and think that equal measure means fair. Right? This reminds us we can all have equal worth and have very different skills that we bring to the table. In fact, sometimes the different skills that give us that sense of equality and worth. I don't know why this is reminding me of this like children's story about Noah and the ark. It's called The Littlest Pair. It is so cute. So if you have grandchildren to read to, or it's about two termites who Noah brings onto the ark. And as you can imagine, the other animals are not a fan of this idea. Like, what are these termites doing on the ark? Isn't this our opportunity to get rid of them? And as somebody who had to tent my house, a little disappointed, right? No. But, of course, it's a children's story, so they're on the boat, right? And it's rocking, and all the animals are flying across this beautiful wooden surface and sliding everywhere. So what do the termites do? They're given a piece of wood and they make sawdust so that everybody can have a more pleasant ride. Okay, so like even termites have purpose. So quite a stretch. Well, that's a different part of the Talmud where it says everything is created for a reason. And also, like, as somebody who's an environmentalist, why we need to preserve every species, we don't know all the benefits we're getting from everything. Okay, so here we are learning this beautiful text that we are all equal in stature, yet our stature is different. And then modern Torah scholar Nechama Leibowitz wrote this in 1993. She asks, here, who's, Ed, you can read another one for us. Will you read 6?
Modern interpreter Nechama Leibowitz asks why Parashat Naso records in great detail the sacrifices which each tribal chieftain brought in turn, especially since they all brought precisely the same offering. Perhaps the Torah wished to emphasize the importance and uniqueness of the individual, repudiating the ideology that regards the human being as a cog in a vast machine, as an indistinguishable member of a mass.
All right, so, wait. Okay, no, I'm okay. So being part of a collective, no matter how important, no matter how sacred, should never be allowed to obliterate human difference and individuality. Right, this is a shift for us, right? I remember studying I think it was like 9th grade, the difference between being a melting pot and a salad bowl, right? And America was analogous to a melting pot where we all conform to the American culture, whereas in my textbook, it was Canada was a salad bowl, right? Where you like get to keep your individuality to make up the whole. I don't know, whatever. That's probably not going to be in the history books here in Florida. So, yeah. Sometimes, this is like the difference between fitting in and belonging, right? Fitting in is the 5th grade girls all wearing the exact same outfit to 5th grade graduation, thinking it's different because their crop top shirt is a different color than the one next to them, right? That's fitting in. We all like the same music. We all wear the same clothes, right? Belonging is you show up as your full self, fully cucumber, fully carrot, whatever it is, right? And still being part of the whole, right? That's belonging. That's the difference here. So we get this message that we shouldn't have to become stew or melt into everything. We can keep our identity. And in fact, our identity is part of what makes us so strong as a collective. And we go back to your point that in traditional Judaism, while we often think collectively, right, that and that uniformity is needed, right? Like we all pray the same prayers, which is very different than a lot of other faith groups. And the chieftains that you'll see next week are all going to bring the exact same donation. That shouldn't erase our individuality. We talk about Torah in general, Torah the scroll, right? Torah more expansively is Jewish teaching, but we also talk about each of us having Torah. Our unique story, our unique insights, our experiences, our wisdom. We each have Torah to give, and if we lose it, then we lose part of the Torah. And we're going to see that now in this text from Rabbi Isaiah Horowitz from Torah Or. All right, will you read 7?
All right, this Rabbi Isaiah Horowitz reports a Kabbalistic teaching that the 600,000 Israelites in the desert correspond to the 600,000 letters in the Torah. The souls of the Israelites originated in the letters of the Torah, he writes, and the spirituality of the Torah consists of those souls. All subsequent generations of Jews, he insists, are branches of those 600,000 original souls.
All right, so do you guys get the idea that the roughly 600,000 individuals in this census each represents roughly the 600,000 letters that constitute a Torah scroll? So what happens then if we lose a person? We lose the Torah. It's no longer kosher. And what happens? Right. So
I'm just
yeah.
picturing Shelley at the march. And if Shelley had not been at that march, there would have been a space, an empty space. And for each one of those people who did show up, if they had not shown up, there would have been emptiness. And so each individual is very important to making up the group.
But some of the letters in the Torah have special markings over the top.
And they're looking in the mirror and they're thinking, aren't I pretty? All right. So we have this beautiful, beautiful text. And then 8, because it's an extension. Will you read 8?
The Hasidic master Levi Yitzchak of Bertichev. The Jewish people are the 600,000 letters of the Torah. Thus Israel is the Torah, because every single Jew is a letter in the Torah.
All right. So just like a little bit of an extension there. That we have this like beautiful idea again of each and every one of us being so crucial to understanding Torah. And then again, like if we are carriers of a letter of Torah, right, it reminds us that we have Torah to teach, that we are conveyors of God's word, that we are conduits, right? And it's not just those 600,000 men, right? It's all of us. The idea that each and every one of us created in the image of God has what to teach the world and something to give this world. Okay, so I want to think about a little bit, just for a moment, about the irreplaceability then that we have and how we serve God by allowing ourselves to serve humanity and live out our uniqueness and our calling to serve. If we don't do that, then the Torah is missing something. The Torah isn't kosher. So, and again, going back to this theme that I'm beating over your heads with, God's covenant being with a people who are not like a nameless mass, right? But that it is individuals living in intimate relationship with God, each individually, and then as part of a community, right? And there's the beautiful teaching that when we say Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei, right? Again, we don't do extra words. So why not just Elohe, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, instead of God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob? And that's because each of them had a very different relationship with God. Each of them played a very different role. And so do we. We each have different relationships with God, and we each play different roles, even if we look to some of our ancestors as models, right? If we want to be Abrahams and we want to be founders, right? Or we want to be Jacobs and we want to recreate and reform. Or we want to be Isaacs and redig the wells that our ancestors did, right? We might walk in their footsteps, but there is something about us that is unique and important and is teaching Torah. Okay. So, I'm on text number 9. We're going to go to Rabbi Joseph Soloveitchik.
Rabbi Joseph Soloveitchik, the individuals belonging to the community complement one another existentially. Each individual possesses something unique, rare, which is unknown to others. Each individual has a unique message to contribute, a special color to add to the communal spectrum. When a person joins a community, therefore, he contributes something which no one else could have contributed. He enriches community existentially. He is irreplaceable. To recognize a person means to affirm that he is irreplaceable. To hurt a person, in contrast, means to tell him that he is expendable, that there is no need for him.
I heard some,
This might be a little charged, but anyway, when the president of Iran died, my first thought was, well, they have such unlimited supply of evil people to take his place that he's like totally replaceable, which is so different from when somebody does a good deed and then he is irreplaceable.
It is an interesting perspective. Yes, especially when somebody does evil in the world, or to people and especially to people we care about. We think of them as expendable, right? I don't know if when I first read this text, I kept thinking of times when I was like hurt in relationships, in friendships. You know, you get hurt, you get angry, whatever it is, and wondering if like this applies. Was I hurt because I felt I was expendable, right? But there was no need for me. So here, you know, we get lots of images of, you know, us being woven. You know, each thread is so important, right? We've all seen like when you get like a run in your clothes and like a thread comes out, right? It ruins the pattern. You can't wear it. It's terrible, right? And we hear it so often, but here, I think Rav Soloveitchik does like a really beautiful job in understanding how important each and every one of us is. And as is pointed out, like when you're not here, it's noticed, especially the regulars, right? When you get used to someone and they're not here, we know they're not sitting in their place and those things. But every person who's not here, whether they come regularly or not, like imagine what the discussion would have been, right, had we had 3 times the number of people. Every time somebody, I just want to like share, every time somebody shares in Torah study, like how brave and how beautiful that is. And it adds so much to the conversation and to the discussion. I think one of the things that makes Beth Am such a beautiful community is that there are so many people that make it up, and also so many people that are empowered in order to contribute and give their gifts to Betham. We can't do any of the things we do without lay leaders stepping up. It's not just the professional staff can't pull this stuff off. You know, we can't have a basketball league without parents stepping up to be coaches, right? We can't have sisterhood without an entire board of women committing full-time job hours to making it successful. We can't have a mitzvah day without 42 captains, okay? Like, we need a lot of people to step up and to make this community what it is. And I think, you know, one of the things that, you know, we'll talk about how many members we have, and it's this weird number because the union counts members as units, right? So your family unit could be one person or it could be 8 people, depending on the size of your family. And that's each one, right? Which is very confusing. But really what makes us so beautiful and every community so beautiful is when it's not just a faceless mass, but when it is made up of individuals who are truly being themselves, bringing their gifts, living their calling, serving something greater than themselves. And so here in our Torah portion, as God counts and lifts up each person, even though it's not, let's be honest, it's not every person, right? You think about, like, well, what about the 19-year-old woman, right? What about the man who is disabled? What about all of the children? What about the grandparents, people over 80, right? But counting in this way to tell us that we're each special, to tell us that we are each seen, to tell us that we are each called. I hope that we and you, as members of this community, understand the gift that each of you brings and is proud, and be proud to bring it. Be proud to bring your feedback. Be proud to bring your gifts. Be proud to come as your full self into this Jewish space, even if we're singing the same thing all together as one mass. Because when we're part of something bigger than ourselves, as ourselves, then we are truly counting. All right, Shabbat Shalom.
No, I'm just